Hey guys, just wanted to hop on and give you the Chapter 9 review for your quiz and give you some of the updates on due dates, that type of thing. I did put the due dates of everything that's left of this semester up. So if you have questions, reach out to me about that. So again, this Sunday, quiz 5 and discussion board 5 are due. And so next week, it's going to be all about your persuasive presentations. Unless you're presenting on that following Monday, I just want to make sure if you present in next week that you get everything to me before everything else starts coming in. So what I don't want is for everybody to turn all their stuff in the Wednesday before coursework is done, because that's a nightmare for me. So I will have your partner pairings tomorrow. I checked with one of my mentors in the department about what she's been doing with group assignments or partner assignments, and she said that she just has been manually doing them. I opted to wait until tomorrow to make sure class everyone confirms through the drop date. So if you have not dropped, this is me telling you it's your last chance to drop. So you have until midnight tonight to do away with this class. So tomorrow I will email you and your partner on copy together, and y'all will be responsible for handling your assignment together. If you have questions, you can email me on that same email thread. So it'll just be you and one more person. You don't have to record anything. You just have to confirm that you did it and attach resume, I believe is what it says on that assignment. So yeah, I'll send that out tomorrow. Make sure that you go select a date to present. You have to your persuasive presentation, which I just put up a demo presentation on the whole big persuasive presentation folder. I know there's a lot going on in that folder, but it should have, it's the motherboard of everything you need. It's got your rubric for the actual presentation. I put up more examples of resumes and cover letters, and it's got my example speech, and you also have any information you need on MLA APA format. That's on there as well. So it is up to you, again, if you use a resume or a cover letter, but pick one and stick with it, and you will have to turn that in to me. So I'm not necessarily looking for this to be the best cover letter or the best resume I've ever seen, but I do want to see that you put forth the effort and that you have a good foundation started. I know some of y'all, this is your very first resume or cover letter. So it's a lot to start off with, but the point is to keep building on it. And a lot of positions will make you create a custom cover letter. So it is good that you have one in your back pocket, a template that you can always adapt and work around on. The one that I did with Dickies is a modification of some previous ones I've done as well. So you just kind of go in there and you recustomize some of the items on it with the new job description whenever you're applying to a new position. It's quite the headache. And especially with the amount of job turnover they have right now, you're submitting a lot of resumes and cover letters to LinkedIn right now. So always good to have that on hand and have a template that you like that you can easily modify. So don't copy mine because it's very custom, but you can always use the formatting as an example for it. So our last chapter we talked about interviews, and so that's what we're working towards, interviews. And then the next thing we're talking about, we had PowerPoints on, was collaborating in teams. So we have talked about leadership, and we've talked about communicating with our teammates, and we've talked about diversity and inclusion in the workplace, and we've talked about the idea of teams, but we have not talked about how you get work done and what it looks like to be in a group or in a team, and how it's effective and how it works even when you have great communication, you don't always necessarily have great teamwork. They're two different virtues. So the concept of teamwork comes from a different place than communicating. So what we're getting into in chapter 9, and the PowerPoint goes over more, is how do we collaborate well in teams? And you're going to have to collaborate in teams for most jobs you have. A lot of times you will be the only person in your position in a team, and so you have your own specific skill set. I do marketing, so I'm usually the only marketing person, or I'm usually the only person handling event planning in most of the companies I've worked with. But I always have to work within a team, and I have to balance what I do with what other people do, and I have to take into consideration how I will include and I will respect other people's responsibilities, and how what I do doesn't negatively affect what their role is in a company. So collaborating is really important in any position you're in. So the first thing we want to talk about is the difference between groups and teams. And so they sound like they're the same thing, but a group is just 3 or more people. They have a common purpose. They give a sense of belonging. Members exert influence. And so a group is just people that come together that usually have something in common and like each other, right? So you can be in a church small group. You can be in a group meeting, like a group setting. So groups are people that get together, probably kind of like-minded, and they are specifically have something that unifies or bonds them. Now, a team is different than that, because a team is a group of people who work together to achieve a certain goal, right? So your team is usually your who you're working with, or if you think about it in sports, a team is trying to have the most wins, have the best outcome for a game, and perform at their highest level possible. So the goal in a team, or there is a goal in a team. A group is not necessarily achievement oriented. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense to you. You can always, if you are in a team, you're naturally in a group, right? If you're in a group, you're not necessarily on a team, if that makes sense. So you may have things in common with people, but you're not trying to achieve something with them. But if you're trying to achieve something with people, you also are going to have commonalities and things in common with them that you're trying to achieve with them. So there are a lot of different things that go into what the characteristics of teams are. I would think that most of you guys have participated in a group setting, or you've participated in sports, or maybe you did something in high school. You were in a type of a club or an organization, something where you were achieving something, right? So for instance, my German club, yes, I was in German club, and this is the only example I can think of. Okay, German club, we met once a week, and we tried to just get less crappy at German, because it was a lot of the kids that were struggling with it. So we would meet and we would do kind of off the wall things to help us learn German better, but we weren't unified trying to achieve the same specific goal. We all were at our own pace. We were all setting our own pace. But my cheerleading squad and my academic decathlon squad, we were a team. Okay, we were specifically trying to accomplish one goal, which was to perform as a unit as best as we possibly could. So that was the team versus a group, right? So teams have, here, right, jot these down. Teams have they have clearly defined responsibilities for their team members, so everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. This is why your workplace is a team. Or in cheerleading, even in cheerleading or in football, everybody has a specific role. They play a specific part, and so that is what makes it a team. Is everybody knows exactly what their job is in that position. So there's no confusion of, if I'm playing volleyball, am I a spiker, I'm a setter, what am I doing? It's like, this is my job, this is what I do, I know where my niche is. So, or niche, I'll let you guys work that out. There's clearly defined rules for team operations, so everybody knows your do's and your don'ts, things that are allowed, things that aren't allowed. I know I keep going back to cheer, sorry, but on Netflix Cheer, She has really definitive rules about things that she allows from the academic side. If you guys ever watch DCC Making the Team, I highly doubt you do. But they're very, very, very strict about the girls' uniforms, wearing the right uniform, being there on time. I mean, they don't cut those girls any slack. They are extremely stringent on their rules, and manners are a big part of that. So those are things that people agree to when they join that team or when they're trying out for that team. So they have clear goals. That means that everybody knows what they're trying to accomplish, and they know it from the minute they are begin their year or whatever, their quarter or whatever it is. Everybody knows what your goal is when you're a member of that team, and they have a way of coordinating their efforts. So that means there's a method that they continually use, and it's not new every week or month or whatever. It's definitive. They know how they're going to get to their goal. They have competent team members, so everybody understands what their role is in it. They are trained properly. They give them all of the information they need to do their job, and they are given any additional information they might need to do their job better. So if they need additional training, this is why Lockheed Martin was a great company to work for, because they offered all of the training that I could possibly need in that position. And so they always made sure that you had as many outlets possible as you needed to do your job properly. So, and then they have a unified commitment, and teams also maintain high standards of excellence. So that's a little vague, but I did like the way it was worded, because it means that the goals that are in place for teams are always causing or always asking people to strive to be better. That was something when I did my last position before I was contracting in oil and gas. I worked with a Texas country band, and I ran their nonprofit, and every year we kicked it up a notch, and we tried to increase our sales goal because we knew we could upgrade. We knew we could do better. So if we knew we could get from A to B, we knew we could get B to C. So, oh no. Sorry guys, I just got this text from a friend of mine that says, this is probably going to affect all of y'all too. So I'm very sorry for if anyone works, if I'm the one telling you this. So they're doing rollbacks again in North Texas for COVID. So that means restaurant, retail, stores, offices, and gyms are back to 50%. Bars are closed, and elective surgeries are going to be suspended. So I'm really sorry if that affects anyone, and I hope that you guys are okay. If you're affected by that, please email me and let me know. I know this is a really, really crappy time, so let's just try to get through it. I'm very sorry if any of y'all are directly affected by that. I have a couple of friends who own retail or restaurants, retail, and bars too. So, okay. Anyways, I'm so sorry. Okay, so those are all the qualities of a team. The most popular type of team, and what we have seen taking and evolving and increasing with all the things that are going on in the world right now, is referred to as a virtual team. Okay, so what offices and groups are manifesting into is what our book refers to as a virtual team, which in any given circumstance would not be something that would matter. It probably wouldn't even be a blip on the radar, but this is the complete world we live in. So there are organizations that are existing completely virtually and have been since as early as February or March. I have a friend who she is a medical translator, and she has done, in New York City, she has done every last bit of her medical translating from March remotely. Talk to patients and talk to doctors the entire time through a virtual team model. So this can include email and text collaboration, video conferences, web-based collaborations, and they all work together. It's essentially a virtual team. It's just teams that don't meet in person. That doesn't necessarily mean that you don't ever meet in person. It just means that you do the bulk of your work remotely. So becoming a more popular business model, I think a lot more companies are moving towards this because they've really seen that A, it increases productivity when you don't have the office-based distractions. B, it also, it's cheaper for people to not house their employees when they're not having to provide a break room or they don't have to provide office space. It's cheaper for the company. And so a lot of companies by default have become a virtual team during this time, but they've realized that it has really increased productivity and it gives people a better work-life balance. They don't have a commute. They can work from home in their sweats, which is the dream. And they can make the choice to come in and meet people or go to a coffee shop or go work if they want to. And once restrictions reduce, there will be more of that. But a lot of companies are moving to the virtual team model because they're really seeing how it is more productive and it is more cost effective for their company. So really interesting that we're going over that just specific terminology in this chapter, because 9 months ago, it was like that relevant. So, but here's the world we are living in, right? So you get news like I just did, and everything is in flux right now. So there are different types of roles that exist within each team. Okay. So there are sorry, one second. I need that lighting from my computer so y'all can see me. Okay. So we got task roles and we got social roles, and then we have individual roles. Okay. So the way the PowerPoint describes it is that task and social roles are vital and important, and they are integral to creating positive teamwork. Individual roles don't necessarily conflict with those, but individual roles don't really help to achieve the pursuit of team achievement, if that makes sense. So your individual role is not taken into effect in a team dynamic. The task role is, they're just behaviors that help the group achieve their goal and accomplish the work. And then the social roles, which I got this wrong on your test, so you guys are going to get a freebie. So just remember this. But social roles are roles that focus on behavior, that manage relationships and affect the group climate. We talked about this earlier, where we talked about the difference between like HR and how HR is both a task and a social role. So a task role in HR is managing your pay, managing your benefits, managing your payroll, your hours. But the social roles would be if an HR manager has to manage conflict resolution, or they have to assign create groups and align people in different organizations. So those work together in human resources. Human resources pair those two together. But there are social roles within very large organizations that specifically exist just to make sure that things are happening harmoniously. So those two can coincide, but an individual role does not specifically fulfill the team dynamic, if that makes any sense. So the last couple of parts right here. Yeah, this is my last question. So the last thing we want to talk about is kind of groupthink is what they refer to it as. And so groupthink is just kind of how things work together as a unit. And within that, we have what we call norms. Not like the guy from Cheers, which y'all are all way too old to know what that is, but so there are things called social norms. Okay, so social norms are bigger, complex, like societal things that are normal, right? So a social norm, I did an entire, not entire semester, but I did a nonverbal social norm project when I was in grad school, and it was really interesting. So we spent a week with my graduate class monitoring physical, nonverbal social norms. So for instance, if you were to sit down, again, pre-COVID, so there's a long open bench, and you sat down right next to somebody, that's not a social norm. Social norm is usually to space out, right? Another social norm is when you walk into the elevator, everybody faces the door. So I had to walk into the elevator and just face everyone head on. So those are social norms. Those are things that are intrinsically part of our society. Norms that are in a team, they're just things that determine what's appropriate and inappropriate within that team. And so it ranges from group to group, right? So there's companies like Google who it's totally normal for people to do their work in a hammock, for a stand-up desk, for them to have a treadmill desk, for them to take a nap under their desk. As long as they're productive, they don't care. Those are totally part of their office culture, their norm culture. And then there's other places that have really strict regimen and culture. If you have a job that's more military or government, there are certain things that you do and do not do within a position like that. So every job and every industry has different norms that you probably don't realize are normal or for them. But because I've worked from a lot of different industries, between working in event planning, working with a band, working in a government contracted government defense contractor with Lockheed, and I've worked in medicine, and I've also worked in oil and gas. The norms that exist in oil and gas versus what you do with the music industry. So the music industry, really big on big flossy technology, okay? They use everything that's new and up and coming. They have 8,000 methods of communication. When I was making an album, we had Slack, we had Google Documents, we had Trello, we had 8 million forms of communication. We over communicated. We would text during the day. Then we would text photos from Google, or we would Gchat. I was talking all the time. It's a very communicative organization of people. That is a norm. People talk and feel and think a lot in the music industry. Oil and gas, everything's through email. Comes right to me through email. If I get a phone call, it means something went wrong. It means I missed an email. So everybody exists on an email in oil and gas, and everybody uses Outlook, which I think is the weirdest thing ever, because I came from Gmail. So that's totally part of the norm in this industry. And those are things you don't realize until you move or you work in different organizations. So if you're going to be a consultant like me, you're going to have to be flexible. So just know that you're going to have to move between different group norms. So those are the bulk of that's your test questions, the second part of your test questions. I will give you guys that freebie because the question was social roles. So I think it's number 14. That should have been social roles, but I accidentally selected task. So just select whatever on 14. That's a freebie. You're welcome. And if you have any questions on the quiz, upcoming assignments, anything, you guys, as always, email me. I hope you have a very blessed weekend. I'm really sorry if anyone was affected by this next rollback. So I hope your family and your loved ones are safe and your job is safe. And so sending much love and light to all of you, and let's just get through the rest of the semester, okay? And be safe.